this is our last release bend. Here we go. Let me do it as I can still retain it in my head before I forget. Here he goes. I cut it short because he plays, okay, it's in the key of A. It's on the 5, okay? Then he goes to the 4, and then right to the 1. Alright? But I cut it short because you need the amp cranked, and it's late. Folks, I'm sorry, but it's late. So it dies out. See, she's dying. So basically, you're holding that through the 5 chord to the 4 to the 1. Okay? And what it is the root bent up to the major second, or you could call it the 9, right? You're right as the 5's coming, he goes, and he's just holding it. No vibrato, just holding it. You need the feedback with the amp to sustain this. See, she's dead already, right? She's dead. So the release bend, you don't even hear it because my note died. But he releases the bend back to the root right after. It's not on the 1, right? It's not right when the 1 comes. It's a split second after. He just like delays it like a split second. He goes. Now, that's it. I already forgot to phrase it. That's it. Okay. So he releases, triple it, right? Or maybe it's like 2/16 and then an 8th note ring. I mean, I don't even know the division, right? But it goes. Wait. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Flat 7. Okay, 2 more roots. Flat 7. Now we do 4 roots. Or is it 5? Let me check. Let's see. Here it goes. I think that was 4, right? Then you gotta growl. Roar! Like McMahon does. I think it's him. I don't know. Maybe it's Jimmy doing it because he's really... That's how you get it done right there. So here you go. Here. Okay. Definitely a cool turnaround, I guess that is, to the 5, right? But all right, so that brings us to our new idea, right? Very small section, because I mean he did rely on this now and then. When I include like full solos, we've touched on it, but I haven't really pointed it out. I gave you the notes, but it's what we just did in this tune. He's taking the root and he's bending it up a whole step, okay? And that is bending it when he does this only specifically when the 5 chord arrives, okay? He grabs this idea quite a bit He does it quite a bit, and he takes that root, bends it a full step to in the key of, in this case we're in A, right? So he's bending that A up to a B. So now the B in the key of A is the second, the major second, but lots of times jazz musicians and blues too, they'll call it the 9. If you're working with chords, you'll call that B note a 9. Okay? Matter of fact, if you play it like this shape, if you know your typical, like, the middle strings, the 2 E's you're not playing, you play an A7, right? A, C sharp, G, and an A on top. But instead of that A, you play the B, and you got to do a fingering either like this with your fingertips, right? A, C sharp, G, B. Okay? That's a 9 chord because that B is so far up there, like up an octave. We call it the 9 by that time, because the octave, the other A is octave 8, right? It's the octave. Octavius, right? What was that? Spider-Man, right? Octopus has 8 arms, right? Octagon, didn't that math, didn't that shape have the sign, the stop sign's an octagon, right? But anyway, 8, right? So now you go one step up more, one whole step, and that's the 9. Okay, so that's where you get the number 9 from, even though it's just technically a major second. Okay? So, that B note is what Jimmy's bending it to. But he does it on the 5 chord. Why? Because that B note, when you play your E chord, that's the 5th. Now we're getting chord specific. This is one lick that when he plays it, he's targeting the 5 chord, a note specifically in the 5 chord, which is that B. It is in see, now it's not too far off. We're not in jazz territory really, because the B note, the major second or the 9, we've been using that. We've been using that, for instance. Right? We got that B right here, 7th fret on the E string. Okay, I'm using notes, the actual name of the notes, but I'm still relying, you got to get used to just calling them the degrees, right? The 5th, the 4th, the major second. But here we are, right? That's the major second, or the 9. So we're using that B sometimes on the 1 chord and all, but he's really seems to play this bend from root up to the 2nd, okay? Like in this Stranger in Your Land song, he does that quite a bit, and it's when the 5 is on the way, when it gets there. Because you got this, you got, right? And then you got the flat 7 there, right? So he's basically bending it right into the 5 chord. And he holds that, and he does that now and then. He uses this idea quite a bit, not all the time, but we'll see a few examples. We'll leave it at that, right? We'll get into the specifics. Pretty much once you get the idea, you'll hear it. You'll start to hear it. All right, let's check it out.